Good evening, everybody. Oh, I think I just had another phantasm. I feel different. I feel like a woman. A Phantasm. That's the name of the movie I'm going to be reviewing tonight. It was made in 1979 by Don Coscarelli. It was directed, filmed, edited, written, maybe not in that order, but and also there were a couple cameos by the same dude. It's all the same person, Don Coscarelli. He did the whole thing. So it's basically like me when I was 12 with a home video camera, except he's got like a professional crew. I wouldn't say he's got professional actors, though. Nor would I say he's, I don't know, a particularly good writer. I mean, I think about this film and I'm like, it's a Goosebumps book. It's a poorly written Goosebumps book. R.L. Stine is actually a good writer. This is kind of, like, it's a story about aliens. Angus Skrimm, the guy who plays the tall man, he gives an introduction, and I've seen this introduction in every version I've ever watched. And it's him talking about it, kind of giving you some background, because it's going to be hard understanding this film. He's like, I was called up by Don Coscarelli while I was in my mansion in Malibu, and he told me I would be playing an alien. My mind raced with the possibilities! And what's kind of funny is he kind of talks about maybe how he's thinking of being like an illegal alien, like an immigrant. And what kind of story of triumph and loss and triumphing again or rising from the ashes like the phoenix, I don't know. He's got this whole poetic vision, and then he goes, no. Instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be an alien from fucking Venus or something, and I'm going to be taking dead people. Then I'm going to midgetize them through some weird-ass process that is never explained or even hinted at, which is good because I don't want to know about that. I don't want to hear them try to explain that. They're like, yeah, take it that the tall man gets your corpse, he midgetizes you. Who the fuck cares? The person's dead. They're like, no, how disrespectful. This guy's not going to let him rest in peace. I don't know. It's like the principle of the thing. So he takes these dead bodies, he midgetizes them, and then what does he do with them? Well, he sends them to, at the time I thought that this was Mars, but upon watching the film again, I don't recall them ever saying its name. So he's from some far-off planet somewhere. And he's sending them there. And we'll get to why he's doing that later, because we figure out why. It's interesting how we figure out why. But he has a whole motive for doing this, and that's his plan. And he's going to masquerade around as the funeral home director, or whatever the fuck he's supposed to be. He doesn't really interact with normal people, although we do see him walking through town at one point for no particular reason. Like, what the fuck is he doing? He's an alien. He doesn't eat food or anything. And as far as I know, he has yellow vampire fluid pumping through his veins. It's very R.L. Stine. It's very Goosebumps. But as far he's not a person. What the fuck is he doing walking around in town like he's buying groceries? Let's start out. How does this movie start? Well, there are these two characters named Michael and Jody. Neither of these guys are good actors. One of them's a young kid of about maybe 12, and the other one is older. He's probably in his late 20s. He's like me. And the two of them are, I don't know, having tough times, Their parents are dead. And also their friends are getting kicked off, too. That's what we start on. It's this guy named, I forget what his name is. They're like, his name's Bob or Jared or something. And he's out in the cemetery. It's pretty moody, I have to say. It's very atmospheric. There's a woman on top of him, and she's got a weird face. I'm sorry. She looks like Kellyanne Conway. She's like, she's on him, and then she leans up, and she's like, hold on. Close your eyes. I have a surprise for you. She pulls out the dagger. She's like, open your eyes. Open your eyes and meet your fate. She stabs him and whoa, it's a serial killer move. No, wait a minute. Suddenly it changes, and it's the tall man. And by the way, he's all dressed up in his funeral director outfit. He's got the tuxedo on, but he's straddling this dude. I love how we have to see that. Like, they change it just in case you don't understand. It's the tall man fucking him. Tall man's like, you're in me. This is weird. I feel violated. Why does he do this? I mean, this has nothing to do with anything. His whole persona, his whole alias, his ruse on Earth is this creepy tall man thing, this bizarre looking dude. I don't know why he can't look more like a normal human being if he's going to disguise himself as a person. He's a weird looking dude. And sometimes he's not a dude, though. Sometimes he's like, you know what? I want to dress up like a woman. I want to dress up like a woman, go hang out at bars and pick men up, take them back to the cemetery for no reason, and then kill them there. He's like, there's not enough dead people. I need more dead people for whatever I'm doing with them. We don't know that quite at first. We just know that this man has been stabbed to death by some woman who might also be the tall man. And Jody and Michael, they got to get together. They got to go to his funeral out at the spooky funeral home / mausoleum. I think it doubles as both. I'm not really sure what it is. It's a giant, kind of creepy looking house. You know, I would like to have seen more than just one image of this house. We always kind of see the exact same shot of this house. Like, they went and just did it all in one day. Could they vary it up a little bit? Maybe it wasn't, maybe they weren't allowed to go there. I don't know. So we see the shot of the house. They're like, there's the house. And they go over and they're walking around in the mausoleum area downstairs. And it's kind of surreal. It's marbly. It's not particularly creepy, I have to say. It's kind of alien looking. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. I don't know. Then suddenly the tall man appears behind Jody, and he's like, the funeral is about to begin! And he does his little eye thing. He's like, arr! And they go upstairs, and they go up to him, and he's in his coffin. And my God, man, he's like totally blue. They're like, whoa, there, Agiria. There you go. And they turn and they leave. It's like, well, that's horrifying. Then they carry him outside. They put him in his grave. Jody is carrying it. They set it, they lower it in the ground, and Michael is watching from the bushes. He's been riding his motorcycle around. Michael drives the car sometimes. He does these things. So he's like, yeah, my brother's pretty cool. Jody, he's my caretaker. He's my guardian now that my parents have died. And I'm like, really gay for him? I don't know. He always wants to be... Michael's always like, Jody, you should be home with me. And Jody's like, listen, Michael, I like you, buddy, but I gotta get out there and get some poontang. He's a man. He has needs. and right now he's fulfilling this need of being a good pallbearer. They stick it in the ground, blah, 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 and Michael's watching from the bushes. He's like, do, do, do. And then suddenly he sees the tall man, and he comes over. He's like, I don't think so. And he goes down, he picks up the coffin with his own two hands and sticks it in the hearse and then drives off. We're like, whoa! By the way, the alien drives a car quite a bit in this film. He's a believer in cars. As long as it's disguised as a hearse. Except for when he's dressed up as a woman. Michael's got to go talk to someone about this, and so he goes and talks to... I don't know. Who is this woman? He goes up to their house, and there's like a sign with a hand on it. He's like, well, that would make sense. And he walks up and knocks, and this girl who has a moon drawn on her cheek, or a star... She's like, hi, I'm a gypsy. This is made by, like, this is a platypus crew, right? This is food and video shit. So she goes like, hi, I'm the daughter of Anipsa, the gypsy woman, or something. She tells the future, what do you want? He's like, I need to talk about something. I just saw something really creepy. Well, come in and see Grandma. And Grandma is hanging out in the living room like she does, next to the ceramic poinsettias and the 17 candles surrounding the Virgin Mary with blood dripped on it. She's got her sunglasses on, too, by the way. It's really dark in there, but she's got her sunglasses on. What do you need to see Grandma about? Anything in particular? You just want to say hi? He's like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously I want to say hi, Babs, but also, I just saw something real spooky. It was the tall man, the funeral director, and he picked up the coffin of some dude that I knew. He picked up his coffin and stuck it in the hearse and drove off with it, and I'm kind of spooked. What do you think I should do? And Grandma's listening, she's not saying much, and then she... What is this? I don't know what this is. This is like magical realism to the extreme. Suddenly a box appears out of nowhere on the table. It's like, woo! And she's like, Grandma wants you to put your hand in the box. Do what Grandma says. And so she sticks his hand. He's like, ah! It hurts! It burns! And she's like, you can't fear it, Michael. Don't fear it. This box that appeared out of nowhere. Ah! And he pulls his hand out, and she's like, see, you didn't fear. That's what Grandma wants you to know. And he's like, well, thanks. And he gives her some money. I don't know if she was expecting that, but he gives it to her. He's like, there you go. And she takes it, too, by making it disappear with the box. She's like, yes, well, I'll send that to the underworld, or I'll send it back into my safe, or wherever the hell the wormhole goes to. Is she a witch, or what is she exactly? I don't know. We never visit her again. We never go to this place. Whatever the fuck this is, we never visit it again. But and what relationship it has to anything else in the story, I don't know. But he's like, well, thank you for giving me that piece of advice to just not be afraid. I'll make sure to think about that. I'll credit you, your role in this story. I mean, that's really the only role that this character has. He's like, okay, well, bye. Thank you for the voodoo wisdom. And he leaves, and he's feeling weird, you know. He's like, I don't know this tall man. And, okay, so here's the deal. Jody is going to send Michael away. Michael is getting word of this. He's like, I'm going to send him to live with his aunt. And again, Michael's gay for Jody. He's like, Jody, you can't leave me, buddy. Jody goes to the bar. And what do you know? The tall man is hanging out there. Oh, I'm sorry. The chick in the purple dress. He's always dressed in the same dress. He wears the same thing every time. And he's hanging out. He's like, yeah, it's a slow night over at the funeral home, so I'm just having myself a sorry bastard. Tastes like pineapple. And Jody's popping a boner. And he goes down there and he talks to her. And she's like, well, why don't you come on over to the cemetery and bone me like a skeleton. He's like, ooh, and they go over to the cemetery. Here's something interesting. There's like a gate to this cemetery, and at just this one particular point in the film, suddenly there's no gate anymore, or they just wander in there. Everyone wanders in. Later on, we have to like climb the gate, we have to get it open, but for some reason, everyone just kind of wanders into the cemetery, because there's more than one person here. Oh, by the way, Michael's following. He's going to watch and jerk off, I guess. This is why I want to hang out with Jody, is I watch him bone chicks, and I jerk off, because it's the 70s. There's no internet porn. And so he's following them. He's got his binoculars. He's being a creeper. And the girl, she's like, this makes me excited. Lay down on that grave so I can defile you. And she jumps on him, and she's doing her thing, and we get to see her boobs. Something about the shot, though, is kind of weird. I don't know. She's like, here they are. We're like, well, they're pretty. And what about you, Mike? What do you think? And he's in the bushes like, oh, yeah, she's a real honey. But then we hear some coming from behind Michael, and he turns around, and it's one of these midget things. They're wearing these little hooded outfits that they run around in, and they scamper, and they look stupid like munchkins. I don't know why they have to look that way. But they're running around, they're spooking Michael, he starts screaming, and coitus interruptus. And the tall man is like, whoa, I just got cock-blocked. Doesn't happen to me. Jody runs off, he's like, stay here, just wait in the cemetery. He's like, I'll be back to fuck you in the cemetery. And he turns and runs after Mike. And Michael, for the rest of the movie, or for a while anyway, he's like, God damn it, Jody! There's someone out there! It's the tall man! I think he's part of some sort of scheme against me. He's got it all figured out in his head, and Jody's like, well, I don't believe that at all. Or, I gotta go bone that woman. And he goes back, but she ran off. She locked the gate on him. There's a couple of things interjected here throughout the film. There are these little segments where kind of artsy things will happen, but I don't know, they're just a little too real. They fall in a weird gray area. It's like when you do a commercial that's too close to your act, it confuses people. So if you're going to put in an artsy little vignette, it needs to be obviously not part of the diegesis, otherwise I get confused. So right about here, might as well be out of nowhere, we see Mike laying in bed, and he's got the covers pulled up, and there's some weird fucking music going on with synthesizers. It's not even like scary music, it's this fucking synthesizer music. It gets us in trouble later. So, and he's like, oh God, I don't know if I can get to sleep thinking of this tall man. And there he is, and he's standing above the bed, and he's like, I'm the tall man. His tagline is, boy. What if he were the chick and his tits were out? Hey, boy! Whoa! Some dead people pop out of the ground on either side of the bed. They start tugging on him, and he's like, ah! And then suddenly that changes, and now we're back at the bar, I guess, or Jody's talking to the bartender. Again, this is something we don't need to see. He's like, hey, do you remember that chick that I, like, took out of here last night that I walked out with? Tell me. Has she come back? No. Did you do her? No. We didn't need to see that. But by the way, Michael went walking through one of the scenes, so we get it. He's still alive. Whatever that was that we just saw with his bed, or whatever that was, that's over. We're back to the story. Again, this is going to happen periodically. Weird things like that are going to happen. You know, Mike's walking through town, and he sees the tall man. Again, the tall man's just walking around town for no particular reason. He's like, yeah, I'm going to the post office. I got to send a package. I got to go talk to someone. Maybe I'm going to a therapy session. I don't know. So he's walking around, and then this happens. I don't know what this is. The boy, they lock eyes, okay? And the tall man stops next to this ice cream truck, and the back door's open, and there is, like, shit tons of frost coming out of this truck. I don't know what the fuck this is, man. It's, like, just coming out, like, dry. What's in there? Dry ice? And the tall man doesn't like being cold. He's like, I'm from a hot planet. Ooh, it burns. By the way, what I'm telling you right now about what he's doing with his hands, that is not revealed to us until at least the second or third movie. Apparently the tall man don't like the cold. For whatever fucking reason, he's from a hot planet. That's probably the excuse. Because the planet he's from is very hot. They're like, he doesn't like the cold. So, of course, in the middle of the movie, for no reason, he had to stop next to an ice cream truck and start chilling out. He's like, whoa! It really hit him. He's like, what the fuck did they have in that ice cream truck? I just wanted to get a fudge sickle, but I think I changed my mind. The boy's like, you see, if I ever see him again, like in public, I'll just have to get him near something cold, and maybe I'll throw a popsicle at him. I don't know. What is that? And he's like, okay, bye-bye. By the way, they never use that to their advantage. They never freeze him or anything. I think they do in the second or third film. Again, they stick him in a freezer, and they're like, he doesn't like the cold. Do you remember that scene where the whole fog thing happened, and they flash back to it? Like, remember that? That's what that was about. I'm like, oh, cool. That's cool that's what that was about. Thanks for pointing it out. How does it play out in this story? Michael is in the garage. He's fixing the car. I guess he's a gearhead. And he sees the creepy little gremlin things again. They got in the garage. I gotta say, this is actually one of the better scenes in the film when he's pinned under the car. That's kind of creepy. But it doesn't turn out to be any big deal because Jody's in there. And Jody's like, he doesn't look freaked out at all. The car just fell on the kid. He's like, well, I knew that there would be space under there. And there really isn't, by the way, because he's pressed face flat to the concrete. It's like, God damn, Mike, get out from under there. You crazy kid. I don't want you out here fixing the car. I don't know. God damn it, I just saw another one of the little gremlin things. The tall man sent it after me. I just know it. And Jody doesn't believe it. So he's like, well, I'm going to go get proof. I'm going to go out there to the mausoleum tonight or the funeral home or whatever. So he goes out there. This time he has to go through a gate because this time we have to. So he goes through the gate and he kicks in a window. He breaks into the place. I mean, it's not like it was easy. He definitely makes his intentions known, and he breaks in. He looks around. He sees a room full of coffins that are all open. He's walking around looking at the coffins. It'd be cooler if there were like bodies in them or something. But then he hears some knocking around, and so he jumps and hides in one. Now, someone comes walking in, and it's not the tall man. It's like his brother or his cousin. This is like his sidekick, but he dies really early on, and he's nowhere near as... I don't even think he's supposed to be creepy. I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's looking around. He's like, because Michael has jumped into the coffin and propped it open with his lighter. I don't know what he has a lighter for. He's 12 years old, but he's got a lighter with him. Props it open, and the guy's going to come over and open it, and then the tall man comes in. He's like, God damn it, how many times have I told you to stay out of the coffin room? I'm sorry. Hey, why not let him open it? Hey! Don't open that coffin. All the other ones are open. Don't open that one, though. Even though it was open earlier. Don't do it. Come with me. And so he leaves. He turns and leaves, and they go make out somewhere. I don't know what they had to do that was so urgent. And the boy comes out. He's like, well, good golly. I'm going to go walk out the door that he just left out of. He goes and he walks out. He's in the mausoleum area. And this is where things get a little science fiction on us. There's a... I don't know what this is. I don't know what you would call this. It's like a flying death spear. And it comes... It just comes flying through the hall. I have to say, this thing is pretty scary. It flies around. It makes like a little zipping noise. And you can tell it's on a wire. It's like a baseball that's been painted silver, and it's got some screws sticking out of it, and they threw it down a wire. They see it flying down the hall. And then the boy's jumping around. He's trying to get away from it. It's following him. And then he gets grabbed by that one dude that's not the tall man, but the other alien, whatever. They're fighting, and he's like, Arr! Then he looks up, and uh-oh, Pescattios! The kid's biting onto his arm, and he draws blood. He's like... And the guy drops him, and the ball thing just goes right there into his melon. It drills right in like a turkey thermometer. He's like, "Woo!" And then it starts spraying blood. It just goes, it's a long process. Essentially, though, it empties his cranium of everything in there. It expels it in a stream of blood. And then he falls over and pisses his pants. And we're like, wow, that's brutal. Oh, and by the way, now it's stuck in his head, or it's like rendered powerless or something, because now it's stuck. So he's like, whoa, well, I guess that takes care of that, and walks along, and he's back to doing his thing. I think he might want to get out, but the tall man sees him. Boy! What are you doing? He starts chasing after him, and he ends up slamming the door on the guy, and he, like, breaks his hand. Or I don't know, he chops off one of his fingers, and there's, again, yellow vampire fluid in there. He's like, ew! And he grabs it, sticks it in a box, and jumps out and runs away like a pansy. And the tall man's hurt! He lost his... I don't know if he... Later on, he has his finger back, so... Who really fucking cares? Oh, and also we throw in another weird scene right about here of that girl with the star on her face, and she's downstairs in the mausoleum. Again, this is totally not in sequence temporally, so forget the fact we were just running around. She's there like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Do I know anyone who's dead? What am I doing here? She's walking around, and then she sees a door. She's like, maybe there's someone in that room who can tell me what I'm doing in this movie. Maybe they have the script. I can see what's going on. So she walks on over. And this doorway has some heads on top of it. It's got some sort of weird decal on the top of it, but I can't figure out what the hell it means. And they never explain it, so we're like, okay, that's something up there. That must mean enter or knock first. And she opens up, and there's a bright light. She screams. But, and that happens, but again, she just shows up later in the film. She's like at her mom's antique shop. Hey, how's it going? Oh yeah, they told me in that room what was going on, so I'm back in the movie now. I totally understand what my place is. It's to let you come over and hang out at the shop with me for about an hour. So anyway, now he's got this magic finger, and he's like, wow, it's still squirming. I'm going to show Jody. I got to convince him. And Jody is, well, he's playing banjo with his friend, the ice cream man. He's an ice cream man. That's his friend. And they're hanging out, and these guys play guitar, and they rock out, and they're musical together just like a little too much in this movie. Like, really, we don't have to listen to them play the entire song. You can tell that Coscarelli promised these guys. He's like, if you be in my film for only $200 an hour, you guys can play your whole fucking album. We'll work it into the film somehow. Every now and then you guys can sit down and play out a ditty, or you can be like, hey, you know what? Let's sit down, okay, Mike? And how about me and the Ice Cream Man, our little band or whatever? How about we serenade you with a song? And they're rocking out, but my God, it goes on for 6 minutes like it's a Godzilla movie. Right now we have this finger, and he shows it to Jody. He's like, oh, wow, sit down my guitar. Woo! And he shuts it, and he goes, I believe you. All right, that's over. It's like, okay, fine, I believe you. You have a finger in a box with mustard in there or something. I believe you. It'd be like, oh my God, you have a severed finger with mustard. What are you doing with that? So they decide to take it to the police, or I don't know who they're going to show. Uh, but then they open it up, and what comes out is a weird bat thing or something, and it's like a bug. I don't know. They try to kill it for a while. This goes on for a little too long. They're like trying to shove it in the garbage disposal, and then it works, but then it doesn't work, and then the ice cream man comes in and, hey, what happened? And he falls over, and the thing comes out of the garbage disposal, and they hit it again. So Jody's like, well, I guess I'm going up to the mausoleum. And he grabs a handgun, just in case he has to kill someone. And he's like, oh, by the way, here, Michael, you take this gigantic shotgun. If you shoot to kill! No scaring cats and slaughtering trees and making communists dance. If you shoot to kill! The boy's like, okay, I have a bloodlust. And, But you know, he wants to go to the house too. He's like, I want to go with you to do whatever you plan to do. He's like, I'm going to go out there and confront the tall man. I'm going to shoot him in the head, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go up there and have a word with him. And so he drives on over. He goes in. He sees that indeed Michael has broken in through that window, and so he decides to go in that way too. He's like, well, this makes sense, I guess. And he goes in and. Immediately, he gets attacked by one of the little gremlin things, jumps on him, and here's his brilliant way of saving himself. This just kind of gets surreal. He, like, takes out this gun and goes, like, shoots behind him. He's like, wow, thank God. He puts the gun down. But the thing is dead, okay? This thing is dead, so shooting at it does what? I don't know. He's like, wow, ew, gross, there's vampire fluid all over the place, or mustard, or Dijon, and he decides to skedaddle, and he gets out, and he sees this car kind of coming for him, and we think, oh, that must be the hearse, because we think it's the hearse, but then, like, no, it's Michael in that car. What? The car drives up. This is really surreal. He's like, oh, Michael, what are you doing in the car? He's like, hey, buddy, I just came to pick you up. You come running out. Here I am in the car. And, oh, but no, wait, the hearse is back there, too. And the hearse suddenly comes out, and it's like, and it starts chasing him, and Michael, the 12-year-old, is driving the car. It's like, God damn it, he's on her ass! They get out. Okay, so here's the deal. They keep saying there's no one behind the wheel, which is totally not true. Dude, there's someone driving the car. Like, we can see it. And you know why I know it's so bad? Because the person in the car driving it is the tall man. It's Angus Skrimm. They're like, you know, just in case you see someone in there, in case you catch us, you won't think it's completely fucking retarded or badly done. At least you'll be like, oh, okay, well, I guess the tall man is in there, and you can see him sometimes. Like, he decided to disappear when they looked in the car. But you know what? He doesn't bother with that when they're not looking. I mean, it's not like it's Don Coscarelli in there. I'm also the stunt driver. So there's someone driving a car that keeps kind of appearing and disappearing. It's kind of playing tricks with them. They're like, we don't know if it's driving itself or not. They fire some shots at it, and it goes off the road. They go over to the car, and they end up pulling out the body of their friend. And he's been midgetized. They're like, oh my God, he's a midget! And he's leaking yellow fluids, and he's dead again or something. And he's also in a weird little hooded outfit someone gave him. And they call it the ice cream man. They're like, ice cream man, get over here to the rescue. You hear his truck, ding, 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 comes up. Hey, I got here as fast as I could. They're like, load him up, take him to the precinct. Listen, we need to transport the body back to town. And we know you have a fucking cryo freezer hooked up to your truck here. Whatever was making all that dry ice frost. And so maybe you could stick the body in there and take it, I don't know where. And it's like, well, I suppose so. He loads it in, and he gets, I don't know how far until the body pops out and attacks him. Now, they send Mike to go hang out with the gypsy girl at her mother's antique shop or something. They're like, you need to go hang out here, Mike. And he's like, God damn it, I don't like it at all. And the girl's like, come on, Michael, why don't you just look around and maybe touch things and be a klepto? And he sees like a picture laying on the table, and he picks it up, and it's the tall man, and he's riding a horse, and he's like, hey, I'm riding a horse! Whoa! And the picture says it's from the 1860s, and this convinces him that he's got to go do whatever. I don't know what this means. wow, this proves it. And he runs over and he's like, take me home. You have to take me home. He already knew that this guy was creating midget demon things. Or like, what does this prove? Why does this get him all amped up? But now he needs to go home. And they're like, okay, we'll just take you home. Okay, fine. I guess we can't hold you here. And so they're both driving him home in their slug bug. And they get attacked. Once again, they get attacked by these creepy little goblin things. They're getting attacked by these things, and he gets like pushed out the back window and falls out of the car, and it drives away with the chaos happening inside of it. It's kind of like a clown car. And so they're like, ah! And the things are biting them and eating them, and the car drives off, and he's like, well, whew, I guess like that's over with. And like, who was she anyway? So Mike runs home, and Jody's sleeping. He's laying back on a chair. He's, again, having some weird artsy dream. But this is so ridiculous that we kind of get that it's not real. He's in his armchair. He wakes up, and he's in the mausoleum. He's like, well, rats. And in front of him's the tall man, and he's walking forward, and he's like, how's it going? Suddenly, like, one of the things breaks off of the wall. One of the little plaques that has the casket behind it. And the little gremlin things come out, and they're like, ee! And he wakes up, and Jody's like, hey, I just fell out the back of a slug bug, and these two girls drove off with those little gremlin things. And also, by the way, now they have a new concern. This comes out of nowhere. They're like, well, if they're midgetizing the dead, I mean, we know that guy was our friend. I mean, he must have been. If they're midgetizing the dead, however that's going on, what about our parents? They're buried up on that hill. You guys need to be worried for yourselves, because not only does this guy apparently go after corpses that have been around a while, he makes them too, when he's in a dress, no less. It's creepy. So I don't know why the fuck they're worrying over their parents, but they're like, yeah, our parents' corpses might be raped, or he might be having sex with them, he might defile them, he might desecrate them. It concerns us. So Jody's like, well, I'm going to go up there and, again, do what? He already tried this once and nothing happened. He's like, I'm going up there another time with no better plan than I did the last time. But this time he's like, Jody, I'm not going to drop you off with some friends. And this time I'm just going to lock you in your room. So he takes him upstairs, throws him in his room, and locks the door. I'm not really sure what he does. He like sticks a screwdriver in there, and it's like abracadabra, you can't get out. So he walks away, and he leaves, and he's like, I'm going to go kill the tall man. But you know what? The tall man left. He's not home. Michael's in his room, and he's angry. He wants to get out so he can help Jody. And he gets an idea. He thinks, well, I could take this hammer and this gun cartridge and this paper clip. He's MacGyver's it into like this weird little mechanism. And he walks up, and he's like, fire in the hole! And he hits it on the door, and there's an explosion. Would that really happen? He blows up the door. Like, great, thanks, James Bond. And he goes through. Probably not what he wanted to do, though, because he goes down to the front door to open it. And there's the tall man! And Michael's like, are you looking for Jody? You just missed him. And the tall man takes him and, like, drags him out. By the way, he likes to do this weird stuff with his hands. So when he answers the door, he's doing this with his hand. It's like, I've been expecting you. And he grabs him and carries him off, throws him in the car, and starts driving off. And guy has to throw him in the car. This is going to take a little while. So he's driving, and Michael takes out his gun, which he's been concealing on himself, and fires and jumps out the back of this car. He does it all the time. Who the fuck cares? He's like, I'm going to jump out the back of another moving car. Woo! And he jumps out, rolls on the ground, and I guess the tall man drives off, or what happens to the car? Does it blow up? I forget exactly. But anyway, he ends up running up there to the house, and he meets up with Jody, who's pulled their parents' coffin out of the wall, opened it up, and they're not in there. And, oh, by the way, also, the weird little spinny laser ball thing is coming for them. It's like, zzz, it's flying through the air, and Michael's like, look out! It's a Cuisinart! Flies, and Jody takes out the gun and hits it. He's like, clay pigeon. He's like, whoa, whoo, thank God I killed the flying death sphere. That thing was a nuisance. Then they see the door where, you know, all the noise has been coming from with the weird thing etched above it. They're like, we have to go in there for no particular reason. we're going to suddenly learn a lot, but it's not going to be explained really how we're learning it, so just bear with me. We're walking down the hall, we go to the door, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the ice cream man appears. He just pops up behind him. He's like, hey, how's it going, you guys? He's like leaning on Jody. Woo! Yeah, I tell you what, oh, the girls, that Gypsy and her mom, they're all fine. I got control of that. Remember you thought I was dead because my ice cream truck flipped over and there was a dead body in there that strangled me? That just didn't happen. So they're like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. And you got in this building somehow and ran down here all the way to the basement to this place for... I didn't expect to see you guys here. So anyway, they're all met up. They're like, who cares how we got together? Now that we're together, let's open the door. So they open the door and they take that step in. And it's not... I guess what we thought it might be. It's like a bright room, like really bright. It's got some canisters in it, as well as 2 metal poles, and that's about it. And they walk over, and not a lot of explanation here. It's little girl lost. Essentially, Jody falls on the ground and flies through the poles, and he's in another dimension! It's a transportation device of some kind, and he's like in an atmosphere of some kind. It's like red. This is the special effects. This is when we get to see this alien landscape, this alien planet. And I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's a red sky, some sort of surface that's made out of... I don't know what it's made out of. It looks like it's made out of corn. And kind of digitized. And there's people walking along it. And they're in kind of a queue. They've lined up. This is like the helipad, and they're walking off somewhere. And that's all. That's really all we see. And then he gets pulled back, and they're like, oh my god, Mike, what happened? And he goes, I understand it all, you guys. They're taking them, and they're midgetizing them, and sending them to their home planet for slave labor. They need to be small because of the gravitational forces. And also, the tall man doesn't like the cold because it's hot there, you know? How did he deduce that from what he saw? Did you get that from what I described? He's like, yeah, they're slave labor. They're mining nitrobarite in the Uranian Quadra system. He knows all this. Nothing he saw should lead him to believe that. But he's like, I read the script, okay? I was at the reading. They're like, yeah, okay, we get it. They're being midgetized for slave labor. The whole room gets shut off, like someone turns off the lights. And they're like, oh, damn. Right about here, the storyline just kind of falls apart for me. I'm not really sure what's going on, because after the lights go out, the ice cream man is now in the room by himself. The other guys are gone. And he's not concerned as to where they went, or he's like, well, now I'm in the room by myself, I guess. If I'm the only one that's going to do whatever is going to happen. And he's hanging out, and he goes and touches the poles. Those guys are running away. They're gone now. They're leaving. I don't know. They're outside at this point. And he's still in there, though, and he's like feeling the poles, and it's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And outside, the tall man has decided that he's going to attack with a dagger, but in order to do that, he's got to put on his dress. And so he puts on his makeup and fucking wig and all that crap and walks around as a beautiful woman in the bushes. And he's got his knife with him, and he's like, no means no! He's protecting his boundaries, you know? He's drawing a line. And Jody is kind of unconsciously overstepping it because he's trying to walk around because he thinks he's hearing stuff. What's going on? Why is everyone in different places all of a sudden? So the ice cream man touches the pole wrong, or he rubs it incorrectly, and she feels it. Oh! I don't know if I want to commit murder now. She's got bigger things to worry about. She's like, someone's stroking the pole! And she lets Jody go for that. She falls over, and the dude comes running out because he upset the doorway, or he turned something wrong. Something happened, and all the cans got sucked in. I mean, he almost got pulled in himself, and then he ran out of the door, shut the door, and I don't know, that's done with. We're like, okay, now we know how they get there. And he runs out of the house and sees her laying on the ground, and he's like, oh my god, what's wrong with this angel? He picks her up. He's like, gorgeous, what's happening? Again, she looks weird. She has a bizarre stare. She just kind of jumps up and sticks him with a knife, and he's like, falls over, and he looks up, and it's the tall man. He's kind of. We're cutting back and forth from his face and the woman's face. We're like, do you see the resemblance? And I don't, like, if you look real close, you can tell it was him the whole time. He's like, yeah, okay, I feel real good about this. Oh, hey, guys, where you going? Driving away. Well, fuck, I spent all my time killing the ice cream man and, I mean, you know, he fucked things up in the transport room, or I don't know. It's not like he cut my finger off. Again, they're not going to go back there, by the way, so at this point, the tall man's going to have to come to them. He's going to have to make a house call. They go back to the house, and they're thinking, they're like, well, what are we going to do about the tall man? I mean, he's still out there. We haven't really faced him at all. I can't say. So Jody's like, you know what we could do? We could, I don't know, lure him into an old mine shaft near the quarry. Or so that this idea comes out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, there's a quarry and a mine shaft somewhere. Maybe we could lure him there and fuck with him somehow. I don't know. And again, his plan is like, I'm just going to go there and figure it out. So, I mean, he's like, we can't get this plan off the ground unless I know what we're dealing with, unless I can, you know, just see how the land lays. So I'm going to go there, and you're going to stay here again. He's like, stay here at the house, even though last time you got abducted from the house. But I want you to stay here while I go check out the quarry for no reason. So he loads his gun. He's like, I'm going to go shoot the quarry. And he goes out to do that. And again, Michael's at home, like, in bed. Will the tall man appear above me? Will he appear outside my window? Will he appear in the closet? Where will he appear? I don't even remember where he appears, but he's back. He starts chasing him. And here's the dumb thing, okay? This is what's so ridiculous. Is he's like walking, chasing, you know, it's that sort of walking, running. He's it's like when you're on mushrooms and you feel like you're flying at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but you're taking long strides. It's like, and we hear his voice. He doesn't move his mouth. We hear it like it's in his head. I hope it's in his head, because whatever he says doesn't make a lot of sense. He's like, you play a good game, boy, but the game is done. What game? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? The boy's like, God damn, he's winning, or he's been doing a good job. The game is almost over, I guess. A couple of kind of random things happen, like he steps in mud and hands come out of the mud and they start grabbing him, and suddenly Grandma floats in, you know, on a cloud. She's, don't fear. Remember the box thing with the crab or tarantula in it that I gave you? Don't fear the hands. And, oh, that's right. Brain blast. And he thinks hard enough, and the hands let him go. They're like, oh, no, we can't deal with that. And he leaves. What's going on here? Is this aliens? Is this magic? Is this the living dead with the... This is a real combo. Yeah, I'm going to use voodoo magic against you, you fucking alien extraterrestrial. You're about to see when Earth gets weird. So he is running down the path. He stops for a little while, by the way. He stops. He's like, is the tall man still chasing me? And then the tall man appears in the clearing and stops too. He's looking at the kid like, why are you just standing there? And then he keeps running. Oh, and the kid at a certain point too slows down again because he sees the woman and he understands. He's like, we've seen all of these different cutaways. He is, she's the tall man, or I don't, whatever pronoun you're supposed to use. And he's like, ooh, he's holding out the knife, and she's like, ooh, I guess I won't stab you, or I don't know what I'll do. I'll just look coy and sinister. Is that even supposed to be scary? It's like I'm seducing you or confusing you at the least. And the kid's like, I don't understand. And then he starts running because the tall man, he's done doing the dress thing. He's like, well, the game is done. It wasn't quite over, but now it is. And they're walking down the trail, and the tall man's still got his stilettos on. He's trying to get them off. It's kind of making it difficult. And the boy jumps over something. I guess he knows that this is where the mine shaft is. And the tall man walks right into it. He falls in. Oh, no! And he falls down the mine shaft. Wow. And then we look up on the hill, and it's Jody, and he's got... What is this? There's like a light up there. We get it. His car is up there, and he's pushing a gigantic Indiana Jones boulder down the hill. It's like, whoosh, and he goes flying down, and it lands in the mining thing. Really? It like lands on top of the mine, seals him in there, and we're like, thanks, Sisyphus! And he comes walking down. He's like, hey, buddy, it's a good thing that we met up, or that I brought this giant boulder with me and rolled it down right into the hole. Yeah, he won't be getting out of there anytime soon. He's been buried alive. And then suddenly, the young boy, Mike, he wakes up, and it turns out that no, none of that happened. That was too, that was too stupid. You believe that? No, it was all in his mind. It was a dream. You see, Jody died in a car accident. And he's having trouble letting it go, and the ice cream man is sitting there talking to him. Listen, buddy, it's just a dream that you had. Jody's dead. He died in a car accident. You need to stop trying to just move past your grief. You need to feel the pain. You want a dilly bar? There you go. You know what I think? I think that we need to go on a trip. Maybe take my ice cream truck around the country handing out lemon bars. You want to do that with me for a couple of weeks? To get over the death of your brother? He's taking him under his icy wing. Mike's like, well, yeah, okay, sure, I suppose I'll need to go pack my things and my compact. So he goes upstairs, and the ice cream guy's like, yeah, you do that, because even though Jody's dead, I'm going to honor his spirit with a song. And he starts playing, but again, we also have the synthesizer music going, so we have this acoustic guitar and like synthesizer soundtrack going at the same time, and it just lasts a couple minutes too long. I'm like, okay, guys, you need to choose, man. You really need to choose between the diegetic music and this other stuff. But we get a little bit of both. Like, whatever floats your boat. And upstairs, Mike is packing his things. He's thinking to himself, and then he shuts this door, and in the mirror, he sees the tall man, Mr. Skrimm! Boy, the game isn't done! And he jumps in, grabs him, and pulls him out. So I guess this isn't some sort of cerebral thriller. It's, or it's what? What kind of ending is that? That's the end. I mean, this movie is not coherent in any way. I don't know what the story is. What's phantasm mean? What does that even mean? I don't even know what the title is supposed to mean. They're like, yes, it's a phantasm. That whole experience was a phantasm. What happened to the ice cream man? So that's Phantasm for you. I mean, again, it seems like something that a small circus crew made. A group of carnies. Watch it. And if nothing else, the tall man is done very well.